Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome in. This is Exposure. I'm your host, Marcus D. Man, what an amazing 24 hours we've had, huh? And what an amazing 24 hours this guy's had. Joining us right now, Senator Cris Dush, the 25th District of Pennsylvania. How are you, Senator?
Doing very well, Marcus. How are you doing?
Hey, man, I can't complain. Listen, I got to find out how you are. What has it been like for you this past 24 hours?
Well, it's been more like 40 some. It was last minute. I called it last Wednesday, I think it was. I said I'm going down there to Arizona. Been watching what they've been coming up with, as well as what's popped up in Michigan and some other places. And Senator Sonny Borelli down in he's the majority whip in Arizona. He and I had already been working together, my team and him. And it just got to the point where I said, I got to go. I got to go see it. And
what made it get to that point that you had to go see it so badly?
Well, look, I'm a former chief of information protection for the Pennsylvania Air National Guard. I've had law enforcement and security backgrounds dating back to the early 1980s. And the discrepancies in Pennsylvania's voting system were so apparent that my constituents are just up in arms over the whole thing, over the November election. I had one county that went from Democrat to Republican in a pretty significant measure as far as voter registration, and yet in the 4 years of President Trump, and the margins didn't stay. I mean, the number of voters increased, but the margins didn't change. And so we've got some serious questions we needed to find out. Things that have popped up, software passwords embedded into the firmware in machines apparently coming out. There are a whole lot of very concerning items. And what I love about what's going on in Arizona, they brought in some very competent and very professional people. My time in the military dates back to when the Strategic Air Command was around, and you had to have two signatures to go into the SCIF on, which is sensitive compartmentalized information facility, where they housed, still do, nuclear information on nuclear weapons, that kind of stuff. You had to have two people to sign in, sign out. During the Clinton administration, they had a problem with the lost hard drive. They found out they weren't doing that down at White Sands. Blew my mind. But at any rate, these guys, their chain of custody, the county that has been bucking them this whole time, they've failed to produce any chain of custody for any of the documents that they brought up. Even with that, those folks on this team with the Senate have taken the chain of custody situation seriously. Nothing gets touched without documentation. And then even the people who are doing the vote counts, if you watch the live feed on it, the people who are actually doing the counting never touch the ballots. It's put on a pinwheel.
Yep.
And the requirement is to have two observers. They've got three. Somebody puts that on the ballot, or the ballot on the wheel. It works its way around, and as it works its way around, they're taking the top two names, the presidential nominee, and then the Senate race that was right below it. So they're doing some things to get some scale. If there's the thing about statistics is it can point you to where you need to go, and they're doing the statistical modeling with the way that they're handling this in a very professional way. But somebody counts, they do it in batches, I think of 50. They'll put the ballot, somebody will put the ballot on the wheel. It works its way around the three observers, and then the fourth person repeats the number as he takes the ballot off. And when they take the box and empty the box, they turn it upside down, So the ballots are going back into the box in the exact same order that they got them from the county. That's the kind of level, or the level of detail that they're taking on this, and it's evident in every way that they're going through the process.
And so you saw that process yesterday during your tour, correct?
Yes, I did.
What else? What else did they show you on that tour?
Well, they were willing to show everything. They've already got most of the stuff, just about everything, on camera.
Yeah.
Except for, I mean, we got to sit in on a training operation, or training lesson with the volunteers who were coming in. What
was that like?
Oh, it was very interesting. I mean, you've got people, and we know that they don't ask, but people do end up telling them. There are Democrats and independents who just felt it was their patriotic duty to go down there and be part of the process. It's gonna when they publish their report, there are going to be a lot of people that have been involved with this in one way or another that are going to be able to come out and say, because they're under an NDA right now, until the report's published, they're going to be able to come out, and all these mainstream media hacks that are putting lies about the way this is being done, they're getting angry sitting down there on the floor. The people who are listening to this while they're working,
I can imagine.
And they can't wait to get out and debunk what the mainstream media is putting out.
Did they disclose any suggested findings to you while you were there?
No. They are still, and most of this is still in the information gathering process. We've been given some information on what to look for, and they're basically writing the book on how to do this, and we're going to have it if we get to proceed with an audit of our own, which I'm hoping we can do.
Yeah, and I think a lot, Senator, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's where I really want to cut in, is because a lot of people, not only in the comments of this, but all around the country. I mean, I hear these people every day, and they are the majority of these people want what you guys went down there to look at. They want this type of audit. What is it going to take to get that kind of audit to Pennsylvania?
I have a feeling I'm going to encourage anybody that has any question in the legislature, go there, see it, because they will open it up. And I will tell you too, we're hearing other states are already, since we've gone down, I'm hearing there are other states that are making inquiries. And I think there's some local officials down there in Arizona who had not done it. Even though they had the invitation, they might end up with it too. But if we get more people down there to see it, you can't walk away from going through that process and not be comfortable with the way they're conducting that audit.
So a lot of speculation, obviously, in the mainstream media. The term Senator Mastriano keeps using is red herring arguments. He keeps talking about how these people are just screaming from the mountaintops, laying out these conspiracy theories, trying to debunk and demonize anybody and everybody who wants this type of audit. And Garland Favorito down in Georgia, he states over and over, I don't understand why someone, especially elected officials, but in this case, we're talking about the mainstream media, would be against election integrity. And what are your thoughts on that?
Exactly. Look, if we find something, everybody should be grateful that we've found it and we're working to fix it. If we don't find something, all the people are saying there's nothing there to find. They can be, especially as well done as this is, if they find out that nothing happened, then hey, everybody can go home feeling confident. And the nice thing is these guys have put it out, and they're actually working on basically publishing, possibly some video showing how their operation runs from one end to the other, so that people get a chance to understand what they're looking at when they're looking at those cameras that are scattered all throughout this place. So it'll be very open, very transparent. The report, I have a feeling, is going to be rock solid.
What does that mean, rock solid?
It's going to have the actual facts of what they're finding, and it's going to, all right, they've got a petabyte of information that they're storing from the videos and stuff like that. And I think it's up to almost 1.5 petabytes.
Good Lord.
So if people want to find something and look at whatever they're doing, they'll be able to find it. And these guys are making it their mission. And it is their mission that they're talking about, is to have everything as open and transparent as possible. And then the findings that if they come up with any findings, those findings are going to be rooted in the data, and the data will be given out in raw form so that anybody can go in, take a look at it, and if they're doing something wrong, it'll be discoverable.
Who's going to be receiving this raw data?
From my understanding, everything that they want to do is going to be out there for the public. They're going to make it accessible. So,
what was the impetus for you three, specifically you three, to go down there? Because there's a lot of talk now, and of course, I always focus on what the mainstream media is doing, because that's when they have their smoke and mirrors over here, we have to look the other way because they're trying to get you to focus on what they want.
That's why I don't have television.
Amen.
It's serious.
Amen. Well, that's why we have 742 amazing patriots in this live stream right now and growing as we speak, because they want to know the truth. This is why we go directly to the senators that go down to Arizona, and thank God that you did, to find out the answers of what's going on there. I mean, so what do you say to these people who are screaming their heads off that say, oh, it's not a transparent process? The CEO of Cyber Ninjas is a Trump supporter. It's like they try to vilify without any factual information. And then when people like you go down there and completely report something openly transparent and that everybody can view and watch online, it turns into a different story. So why the disconnect there?
Look, truth will out. Truth will out. I mean, and these guys are going to make it happen. Like I said, I don't know what the final audit results are. They've identified some things for us to look at that we need to make sure that evidence isn't destroyed if they're and we're going to be working to do stuff up here if we initiate the audit.
What kind of evidence could be destroyed?
I'm not going to comment on that because I'm afraid that somebody might actually start going in to tamper with it. But I have to tell you, the professionalism of these guys is it's astounding. I'm a hard guy to impress when it comes to processes and stuff like that. The stuff that we uncovered, just my background, like I said, I was responsible for the protection of classified for the entire Pennsylvania Air National Guard. There are things that need to happen that these guys are doing. They're protecting the chain of custody in such a way that it's astounding. I was
look at the smirk on my face, Senator. Look at the smirk. I'm actually a big fan of yours.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Tony Shoup won't stop talking about you because whenever I call her, I'm like, who's fighting in Pennsylvania? She's like, Senator Dush, Senator Dush. So I'm so happy to be here. I speak with her a lot, and she has a lot to say, a lot of good things. And I just had a couple questions, but I'll have you continue your conversation.
No, please.
Okay.
He's ready for you, bud, because we've been talking about some incredible stuff so far, and I want to actually get what you have to say, because I know what we talked about before you came on this interview is really good stuff. So please go for it.
Actually, Marcus, don't sugarcoat it. We were talking about how to pronounce his name. We were talking about how to pronounce your name correctly.
If you like Rush, you like Dush.
Hey, that's a good campaign.
There we go. There we go. So look, when I spoke with Tony on the phone, and I was like, oh, what legislative manual does Pennsylvania use? And I started looking up what are the rules for each committee and what they can individually do. And then I stumbled across a whole just gold mine. And it really is that, your state Senate, your Senate has the power to do their own investigations, place their own subpoenas, whenever they want and in whatever fashion, to whatever degree, and that power is broad. The Constitution also gives you the power to oversee elections, which is a very broad power again. And I was just thinking, is that something that's being worked on in Pennsylvania? Because that's how the Arizona Senate did it. And then guess what? A few days later, you're in Arizona, you're observing the process that they started with the same subpoenas. So I'm guessing you probably have been thinking, how did these subpoenas work? Or,
Oh, no, I've known my very first piece of legislation back in 2015, when I first came into the House. I was a House member first, then I've transitioned over to the Senate. But Act 19 of 1842 is what gives the Pennsylvania legislature its subpoena authority. And that applies to the House as well, but the difference is in how the House rules and the Senate rules are done to describe how that actually happens. Now, there's a great difference and a fantastic difference between the state subpoena authority and the federal, in that in the federal government, they have to rely on the executive branch to enforce the subpoenas.
Right.
In the state legislature, it's our sergeants at arms, either in the House or the Senate, that get to go and issue the subpoenas and have enforcement action. If somebody refuses to testify, if somebody refuses to show up, under that law, they actually go to the Dauphin County Jail until we call them back before the bar of the House or the Senate. And if they refuse, then again, they get taken back to the Dauphin County Jail, where they will stay until the next legislative session.
So then, what the heck is happening down in Arizona, then, Senator, with these board of supervisors that have been held under a subpoena almost to the point of contempt, almost to the point of being jailed, and yet the Senate president, God bless her, I love Karen Fann for what she's doing and the courage that she has, is still suggesting that they come to these meetings that they don't even show up to and have their own counter meeting on the same day. What is going on down there?
Well, I'm not sure how every state's different, their constitutions and their legislation that govern the subpoenas. So I don't know that they have the ability to send the sergeant at arms after them. I actually think just my initial impression is that's not necessarily the case. We didn't get into that very much, but you're right. Senator Fann is fantastic. Gunny, Sonny Borelli, they're fantastic, and they're fighters. Got a couple new House members over there that are along with them and standing with them. They were with us yesterday. But it comes down to the differences. You got to know the law. You got to know your state's constitutions.
Yes. And that's across.
That's perfect. That's perfect, because that segues into what I wanted to talk about. In Pennsylvania, it's easier to do it because you just need a standing committee. And I think any relevant committees, I don't think you can do this with the gambling committee and start auditing an election there. No, I think you'd probably need something like the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation, since it'd be a legislative investigation because they deal with proposals and all that. Now, on the next thing, you told
just to clarify, though, that would be the state government committee that would really have jurisdiction in this case.
And you're the chairman of that committee.
Well, I'm the vice chair of that.
Oh, you're the vice chair.
I've got local government. I'm chair of local government and vice chair of state government.
Right. That's perfect, because you're just someone in a perfect position to push for this. And you were telling Gail that more members in the Pennsylvania legislature are starting to open their eyes as to how the process has to be to clarify to their constituents what happened in November. Where are we at with that? Because, I mean, not everyone in the legislatures, let's audit. They're not all excited.
It's a good question.
Look, the public's going to have to get behind this. We already know 47% of the American people have the sense that something happened that was not right with these elections. If people lose faith in their in the electoral process, and that's one thing I want to clarify. That's 47% of the people. Now, are the people who are going to have that loss of faith in it are probably going to be the voters that feel disenfranchised.
Exactly.
So
That's true.
that's probably a very significant portion. It's probably a much larger portion of voters. So,
well, but Senator, I saw down. I mean, you even look now. 2 weeks ago in Luzerne County, where they had issues with the machines down there, which was disenfranchising voters at 9 a.m. in the morning from stopping to go. I mean, this is in the same state where people saw a 700,000+ vote lead for, at the time, the president of the United States. And then all of a sudden there was a stoppage. And now they're going to vote in a primary, these are incredibly important elections, because what I think conservatives used to overlook in these smaller county primaries, we now have to focus on heavily, because this is how we get change within our local communities.
Well, that's why George Soros is looking at the district attorney races.
Exactly.
He's funding those. We've got to look at the school boards. We've got to look at everything.
But what do you say to those people in Luzerne County that all of a sudden show up and there's a Democratic ballot that's at the top, and they have to switch pages, or they have to enter a password to get to the Republican ballot that's on the machine itself? I mean, this is just not even 6 months after one of the most consequential elections we've ever had in this country, after one of the most consequential states in the nation faced the biggest hardship we've seen in my lifetime.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll touch on that and I'll circle. I hate that phrase.
Circle back.
Don't say it.
This primary election was critical. I mean, we had those ballot measures, and the Secretary of State wrote the words along with the Attorney General of those two ballot questions in a way to confuse the voters. But the voters understood. The voters researched and got out there, but that margin could have been affected by those precincts where, and I had one in my own district. They ran out of paper or ran out of ballots. And had to go back and get more. But those are issues we definitely have to address, and they popped up enough. And of course, with social media now compared to 20, 30 years ago, people know about it instantly when it happens, the whole way across the state.
Yeah.
But
so then why? I think the prevailing question, not only amongst Pennsylvanians but the nation, to be honest with you, is why has it taken Senator Dush, Senator Mastriano, and Representative Kaufman this long to go down to Arizona to look at what's happening down there and to try to exact change within your state? Why has it taken this long since November 3rd?
There are a lot of factors that went into this. We've been dealing with the governor that with the COVID-19 situation and the impacts that he's been putting on the people. You sitting in these seats, my hours go way, way into late night and early morning when the government is using force against its constituents in a way that's contrary to law. And we saw that too in the November election. I get something that I bring up that some people really grasp. The old phrase that the best compliment is duplication or copying somebody. The Republican form of government, which the Constitution guarantees to every state, believe it or not, is duplicated by every major sports franchise. You have the team owners, and in the United States, and like in Pennsylvania under our Constitution, we the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, and humbly invoking his guidance, do ordain and establish this Constitution. It's the people that are creating the frame of government. The government is not for creating its own frame. Then, so you've got the people that are the owners, and they form a rules committee, like in the NFL, the Major League Baseball, all that, and that's the legislature. And but that falls after the Bill of Rights, by the way. Article 1 is actually the Bill of Rights. And so it has supremacy before they even allow the legislature to exist. And Article 1, Section 25 says to guard against usurpations by the government with these powers that we're delegating, it shall be accepted out of the powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate. And he's talking about Article 1. Everything in Article 1, your Bill of Rights, it's untouchable. That's the exclamation point to the Bill of Rights in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Then you have the Rules Committee. Then you have the Rules Committee creates the law or the rules, just like in Major League Sports. The executive and judiciary, the executive is like the players and coaches, the judiciary are the umpires and referees. They're operating literally and figuratively under the law, under the rules. The sovereigns are the people. After the 1776, the sovereignty that belonged to the crown in Great Britain fell to the people, and the people sought to create a republican form of government in order to protect that. So our state Supreme Court rewrote the law in November and said for that one election, yeah, we'll allow ballots to be accepted for days after they're supposed to be in violation of the law. They don't get the opportunity. They don't get the right to do that because the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, since the 1791 Constitution, they've never given the judicial branch the authority to do that, to write law. Our Secretary of State, by allowing ballot harvesting and the other things that she was doing, that she was rewriting law.
Yes,
that's unconstitutional.
Right.
So on its face, the election in 2020 for Pennsylvania, it was an unconstitutional election. And
So
it
where are we
should
going
never
then?
be certified.
You got the
I mean, so
go ahead.
So the original question Marcus asked was, why did it take you long to get to this point? But I'll answer that for you. It's quite simply because I'll defend you a little bit here. It's quite simply because we are in unprecedented territory right now. Where have we ever seen an audit of 2.1 million ballots anywhere?
You're right.
We haven't. We haven't seen ballots get scanned under a microscopic camera to identify folds. You know, we're in a very different territory here. And yes, you are right. The election in Pennsylvania was definitely amazing.
Right.
Your Supreme Court decided to have more control than the legislature. Your Secretary of State decided to control it. And that makes it very different, which means you have to then go, well, look, it was our job. So let's see what happened there, which is why we need to audit. We can't just say it was unconstitutional because it was. We all know that. But we also have to investigate to see what exactly did they do that led to this point where we're, all disenfranchised. If half your constituents don't feel happy with their vote or don't feel confident in what they're doing, then that's a bigger problem than I don't know.
Well, if they're going to feel disenfranchised, I took a look years ago about the voter turnout. The rural T in Pennsylvania, in a House district, everybody's got 64,000 constituents roughly. Yeah. Typically in rural Pennsylvania, the turnout was like 16 to 17,000, while in the legislative districts, while down in Bucks, Montgomery, Chester County, they're turning in 35 to 37,000, and Philadelphia as well. When we're doing that, we're getting overruled by not showing up. They've always felt up here that their votes don't count. So making them feel more disenfranchised makes the turnout even lower. In the 2016 election, the people turned out for Trump to the point where we went from 20,000, 16 to 20,000 up to 25,000 or to 20,000. We went up to 25,000 here. President Trump lost. I'm a little concerned when I've got a county like Elk County that went from Democrat to Republican in those 4 years, and the percentages stayed the same. That's
I'd like to know. I mean, this could be double-sided. I'd love to know why these things happened. I mean, Marcus just showed a picture here. In Pennsylvania, 109% of the people turned out. I'm not a mathematician. You look like you're smarter than me. You've been in the Air Force. But I don't think you can have 109% of people turn up for something. It's either 100% or less than that, not higher. So
That's right.
we have to investigate. We have to know. And some people might say it's about money. The people will fund this if they have to, because
Absolutely.
this is about their vote.
Hey,
This is
people
about
are
their future.
Everyday citizens are funding that audit down there in Arizona. They're contributing.
I mean, but you look at the statistics, Senator, and even the ones you were mentioning and the ones I just put up on the screen. I mean, you had a 17% county win for Joe Biden. 17%. He won 477 counties, far less than what Hillary won back in 2016, and obviously far less than what Obama won before that.
Right.
Trump won a record 2,400, and I believe it was 97 counties, a record in the history of this great country. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that with these turnouts, with the grant money that was brought in by the CTCL from Mark Zuckerberg, 400 million plus all over the country, not only to turn out to have more voters come out in certain parts of the country, which we've discovered in Wisconsin, it was heavily weighted towards Democratic cities. But you're looking at Secretary of State's offices that were receiving money from the CRE and the CTCL. You're looking at Governor Secretary of State Raffensperger, who received, I think it was like $5 million from this grant program as
Maricopa was $5 million or $3 million.
Yeah, it was like 2.9. It was like right around it. And that county in Arizona hasn't voted Democratic since, I believe it was 1972. So these are just raw statistics. These aren't like conjecture. This isn't like something that you're looking at and saying, oh, well, we could debate that. No, you can't debate the numbers that are there. And I think the people of Pennsylvania saw this on November 3rd. They saw this on November 4th. They saw it on November 5th. And they just, morale. I can't imagine being a Pennsylvanian. I drove through that state around that year, and there was still Trump signs everywhere.
They're still up
in December.
And they showed it in Butler, right? Was it 40,000 or 50,000 people that showed up in a town of 17,000 people? Because that would mean people drove from all over Pennsylvania just to see the president speak. I think your lieutenant governor was coming out and said, I've never seen movement like this from any campaign. I think, but with all these numbers, with all this unconstitutional this, unconstitutional that, I think we can understand people feel disenfranchised and they want the truth. You know what? What if we do an audit in Pennsylvania and it turns out we were wrong? Nothing happened there. It was safe. It was beautiful.
As long as we did it right.
Exactly. But the thing is, I'm guessing whenever you ask any county there, let's do an audit, any controversial county. No, you're disenfranchising people. Wow, ridiculous. So I guarantee you would get the
it's the same arguments that they're making. We're disenfranchising blacks because we want voter ID.
You need an ID. I have an ID from. You need an ID for everything, but God
forbid.
Actually,
here's a good thing. We're looking at one of our senators introduced the bill to do like we did with the ballot questions to get back to the constitutional controls over the governor. We're bypassing the governor and making a constitutional requirement to have voter ID, because those of us who understand it know that it doesn't matter what demographic group you survey, every single one of them, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, 70% at least of those people want it. So this is going to be an easy pass when it comes to, if we get it on the ballot, it'll be easy to get that thing across the line.
So what is it going to take to educate the public in Pennsylvania on the constitutional law in Pennsylvania for what they can do moving forward?
The biggest thing that they can do is keep the pressure on the other legislators and their own legislator.
What does that look like practically? Keep the pressure on. What does that look like?
Ask them go into their office, send them a letter, and not these clickbait things. Go in and write them a letter, something that's their own, use their own headline on an email or whatever, and put their address on it so they know it's a constituent. But then ask them, one thing that they can ask, what's the harm? If we find out there was a problem, you got the tools to fix it. If we find out there wasn't, you can give everybody the satisfaction of knowing that there really wasn't a problem. So what's the problem with doing a complete forensic audit of those ballots?
What is the problem, Senator?
And force them to answer the question. Force them to answer the question, because when it comes down to that, there's no way you can say, well, there is harm. What can they identify as harm from that? We're going to have to spend a little bit of money, but if 47% of the people can gain the confidence that their vote actually counted, what's that worth?
Right.
What's that worth?
It's priceless. Well, are you looking at any specific areas of Pennsylvania right now?
We've got a few counties that we're thinking about doing the audit in. Again, left, right. It's gonna.
I'll give you a few: Allegheny, Philadelphia, Montgomery, Delaware County, perhaps. I think those 4 would make me very happy. Look,
well, we're gonna get this. We're gonna get the Republican ones too, because.
Right. Those two.
Yeah. I mean, we've got some people that were 70% for President Trump up here. Well, actually, we had one county that was 80%. So
you talked about at the beginning of this interview that you're hearing from your constituents that they are up in arms, and this is a big point of contention. Pre-November 3rd, the big fracking issue. Everybody in Pennsylvania was watching those town halls, just being like, "There is no way they're going to take our jobs away." And then they saw, all the stuff post November 3rd. What are they saying to you? What are you hearing from your actual constituents?
I'll give you one example. I had one guy in my church. The man hardly speaks at all. And the Sunday after the election, he came out, or he came by me on his way out the door, and he reached up, took my shoulder, took my hand, and said, "If we lose the electoral process, we lose this nation." And I haven't heard. I mean, we were at a men's breakfast here. Actually, it was last Saturday, and I brought up the fact that I've been talking about that. He said, "Well, you keep talking about that." I've got a guy who actually helps businesses to develop. Now he's out trying to help these guys get their businesses up and running. He said that the subject that won't quit is November 3rd. It will not quit. He's trying to help these guys build a business, but they want to talk about what happened on November 3rd.
Doesn't God have a sense of humor, Senator? I mean, think about this. You remember the Time Magazine article that came out where they said we wanted to control the flow of information. We got big tech companies to censor people, and it was like a little shadow campaign behind 2020. Well, I don't know why God does this, but that's all people want to talk about. The very thing they censor you for talking about, they delete you for talking about, they cancel you for talking about. That's all we want to talk about, because it's so important. It's a high stakes issue. And I'm happy there are people in Pennsylvania that are waking up, not just yourself, but more constituents coming out daily, more people signing signatures, sending emails, I don't know, reaching out to their legislatures.
I'm telling you right now, their legislators are going to be getting primaried.
Dang right. Right. But here's the question, Senator. Is there any confidence in people going out to primary these people if the same systems are being used? That's the entire question. Luzerne County is now starting to really frustrate people, because the people in Luzerne County were being disenfranchised that morning. But people around Pennsylvania, they're not sticking their heads in the sand. They're watching what's happening down in Fayette County, Fayetteville, and they're watching what's happening in Luzerne County. And I encourage everybody to go out and vote. Please don't be disenfranchised by what this joke has been happening to us. But it's just little paper cuts, Senator, little paper cuts that just lead into death by paper cut. And why would you even say, oh, well, they're going to get primaried? Not you specifically. I'm just saying, why would anybody say, well, they're going to get primaried if they have no confidence in the system that can allow them to primary these people?
I'll tell you how you overcome it. When I was told when I first ran that the Speaker of the House, who I was taking on in my own party, was going to destroy me. I wouldn't be able to live in my own community. If you're going to run, get out there and focus on the issues. Don't rise to the bait when they try to throw slime ball curves at you. Get in front of everybody. Talk to your local government officials and stuff like that. The people, unfunded mandates. I walked around took me about 2 or 3 days. In fact, my initial campaign slogan was, "We have to start today to fix tomorrow." Within 3 days, it was no more orders. We're not ordering anything else. It's time. My predecessor and his father held the seat for 50 years up to that point. I eventually ended up, he bowed out the second time I went after him. The third party, a third guy got into that race, and the 10% that he took away by bashing the Speaker all the time, those votes would have never gone to the Speaker. They'd have gone to me. But if people have something to vote for, is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
You have to have somebody who's aware of the issues within a district, who understands them and is willing to take them on passionately. And then the same thing when the Senate Pro Tem, he waited until 6 days before the signatures had to be turned in. And actually, the guy was his handpicked successor, let the cat out of the bag. And I was able, collecting 500 ballot or signatures to get on the ballot is a tough job, but I ended up with 2,100 in 5 days and took some supplementals down on the 6th. So people, they spent $1 million against me. They outspent me 2-1 and lost 2-1 for this seat that I'm in now. My thing is, if God is calling you to do something, or if you've been sitting on the sidelines griping and moaning, I'll do the whole thing. Get out and run. And if you find you've got a couple people that are taking it on, get a small group to sit down and decide, all right, listen to the two guys out, get people from both sides that are willing to give honest assessments, and just make it one candidate running against whoever it is.
I think the new campaign slogan, Senator, doesn't have to be "Let's start today to fix tomorrow." It's probably now not even more. It's time. It's "Let's start today to fix yesterday."
It's time.
It's
now,
time to
now is the time.
Now there is no more time. You don't vote for whatever we're heading into more than once, Senator. Like, you only get one shot at this, and the fact that we're dragging us into the mud with them is not going to stand. And I know the people of Pennsylvania, I hope if you're watching this and you're from Pennsylvania, you've heard the words of the senator in this interview, and you're willing to go out and make the change that can happen. Senator Mastriano said it yesterday in his interview with Jordan Conradson from the Gateway Pundit. He said, if the people want it, it's up to you, Pennsylvania. It's up to you. You have the power to exact change according to your state constitution, based on what happened to you. Moving forward, you can change this.
That goes for Wisconsin, Michigan,
yes,
Georgia, South Carolina, everywhere. They go everywhere.
Oh, I like how you threw South Carolina in there. That's sneaky. I like that. That's good.
Yeah. So let's say the result of Maricopa come out, and let's just say, for argument's sake, they're not good in terms of they find a lot of things they shouldn't be finding, a lot of wrongdoing. How does a state like Pennsylvania react? Because you're not just going to sit there and say, well, that was Arizona.
No.
I imagine there will be different pressure, not just on yourself, but everyone else in the Pennsylvania legislature to do something in their own state. So how do you react to any findings if they're damning?
Well, if they're damning, we have got to make sure that we're going into an audit, having an audit that actually looks at those areas and strives to ensure that we can find the truth about those specific areas as well. If it's access or internet access to the voting machines in a live manner, any number of things in the procedural or in the processes that make it open, and like voter registration. If you've got third-party access to the voter rolls, we've got some areas we already know we've got to look at, but.
So you just said internet access to the voting machines in a live manner. Have you had anybody talk to you about this?
I've seen some speculative things out there. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get into anything specific, but we've got some work. Like I said, I want to do like Arizona's doing. It's got to be a legal type process to where we can set it up to where there is no
Screw
question.
Screw 9 cameras. Let's do 18 camera angles. We got to make this as impossible to scrutinize as possible. Let's get AOC to be an observer and watch the audit happen. Because
she won't. Oh, you know what? She won't. I got to tell you this story.
Oh, please.
We got down there, and they've got a media box up there in the arena. Do you think CNN and these other outlets are up there?
Of course not.
No.
But what they did do is they tried to ambush us as
outside.
And at various locations, like when we were over at the Capitol building, they found out we were over at the Capitol, so they tried to ambush us over there. That's ambush, trying to get people.
Yeah.
I don't know, create a story rather than report on what's actually happening.
Exactly. They've
got the opportunity. The door's open. They can come up there. They can be part of the press. They'll give them tours down there. But let's get real.
They don't want to be part of the process.
No, and AOC won't want to be part of the process either.
You want to know why?
Right.
Real and transparent.
Because that's the thing that I don't understand, Senator, is that the reason you went down there is to find out the transparency of what you guys can exact in Pennsylvania. The reason they're hitting you for going down there is because they're all about optics. And CNN will not show up because the optics of them even being there is giving legitimacy to the actual thing that they're trying to discredit on a nightly basis on Cuomo, Lemon, and whoever else is out there screaming from the mountaintops. And this has been their MO ever since the New York Post was banned from Twitter with the Hunter Biden information. It is plausible deniability. It is shirk the responsibility. It is put it behind a brick firewall. Don't show it. And eventually either the people move on or we create a narrative to change the country's focus into what we want it to. And for them to ambush you, it's a gotcha moment. And you see right through it. And 1,481 amazing patriots in this live feed see right through it. And I'm hoping that the rest of the country sees this interview and they see right through it.
I do too.
I get fired up on this stuff, man.
Logistically speaking,
for me, it was humorous watching it, but in one respect, as they were trying to do it. But on the other hand, I get in there and you got the Wall Street Journal, OAN, and there and others, the Gateway Pundit, and CNN, MSNBC. They've all been offered the same access, and they refuse. Like you said, plausible deniability and throwing up that firewall. If they haven't seen it, then it's not real. Yep. And that's the message they're sending to their constituents.
Isn't that amazing? If it's, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see it, it's not real. Whatever we want you to see is what is reality. Man, Senator, you could write a book on what you just said right there. If you don't see it, it's not real. You should write a book.
Yeah. Well, on a logistical side, man, I love Pennsylvania. I've never loved Pennsylvania more in my life. So on that logistical side, how would this work in Pennsylvania? Because Arizona has, 15 counties? They can do this as quickly as they want. They're all in the same. It's very small. Pennsylvania is huge. You have 1 billion counties. Would you go county by county?
Yeah. We'll target a few counties just to keep it reasonable because, quite honestly, that team that is down there, they're going to have to be part of whatever develops in the other states. Nobody's ever taken on an audit of this scale before and done it in such a meticulous way in order to preserve the integrity of it. That skill set is unique, and they're going to have to be a part of any other audits going forward. So it's probably going to have to be like a domino effect was Pennsylvania taking the lead, and
You're
others.
speaking my language now. Dominoes, they'll fall.
Yep.
Okay, Arizona's the first to fall.
Yep, and thank God for them leading the way. It's
Amen.
just like thank God for Governor DeSantis.
Amen.
You have something to compare it to.
Thank God for Governor Wolf. No.
He's out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, you deserve that.
So, Senator, are you saying that if the people rise up and there is this style of audit in Pennsylvania, that Cyber Ninjas and potentially Joe Von Pulitzer are going to be a part of this?
I think a key part of their team, yes, they will be. And the nice thing is, like I said, after the NDA is done, when they release their report, the NDA is over, the non-disclosure agreement. You've got about 2,000 volunteers that have come from all over the place, including Pennsylvania, that have been part of this. And they are going to be able to come out and contradict everything the mainstream media has been saying. And you're going to have a couple thousand people. I mean, it's not like you may find one or two that got fired or something because of, inappropriate behavior down there that was caught, and they deal with it very quickly.
Well, you answered my question further than I wanted you to, but you gave us more. What I meant was, let's say you targeted 5 counties in Pennsylvania that you wanted to look at. Would you go one by one, or have a giant building where you bring everything in and then complete the audit? Or do you go to the county site for 3 weeks, conduct the audit there, and then the next, and then the next?
Well, it'll come down to the size of the counties that we're doing, and whether we're going to have facilities, whether we're doing it within a county facility. Arizona tried to get that to happen, actually have the audit done in the facility so that they didn't lose any chain of custody.
Right.
And then you've got the location issue, and remember, you're preserving a chain of evidence here.
Right.
So if you're moving to another facility simply because of the scale of the audit, like Philadelphia it'd be a huge project, and you'd have to have something on the size of what they're doing down in Arizona to properly do that.
One of our listeners is wondering, CAZ, one of our listeners is wondering, when will this audit start?
We're probably looking somewhere around the 1st of August before they can do it, because they've got to finish collecting the data down there. And Marcus, I told you before we got started, they've got 1.5 petabytes of data in there. They've got air-gapped servers sitting in the middle of that room down there. But that transparency, for those who came on late, that, like I said, there's 1.5 petabytes of data there, where between the materials and the scans and the videos, that's all there, that's going to be out in the public for people to evaluate and just kind of look and see if what the Cyber Ninjas and those guys were, if their conclusions or their findings are sustainable. So anybody that really wants to look at it will be able to look at it.
Yeah, I can't wait for that report.
Oh.
I think that's. I can't wait. It'll show that nothing happened, and we're all crazy conspiracy theorists.
That's
Look
right.
at me right here.
I would love for that to be the outcome, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if nothing happened. we're going to find out what happened in Pennsylvania. Senator, I'm going to give you the last word. Anything you want to tell your constituents? Anything you want to tell the greater Pennsylvania area or the nation? I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I'll say this. If anybody comes in late, go back and take a look at it again. I describe the significance of the Constitution and your role in it. You're the owners of your states.
Amen.
Your state's constitutions are created by you, the people. It's not created by the government. And that's done usually by a vote by the people, again, since 1791 here in Pennsylvania. The legislators are the only ones that you, the people, have authorized to write law. When it comes down to the executive and judiciary changing law or creating new things that the legislature has never delegated to them to do, then they're acting outside the Constitution. And you've got to make sure your legislature holds them accountable for that. Impeachment proceedings, whatever it takes.
Yes.
You've got to make sure that it happens. But one last thing, the schools. We had the 1619 project and the what's that other?
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. My local town, the school board members, every single one of them, when they got up, they disavowed both of them and said they have no place in the schools. You have to start doing that because that's where people are trying to get the next generation. They're starting to indoctrinate kids on this garbage from the time they're 8, 9, 10 years old. Every office matters.
Yes.
And if you can in any way volunteer to be a poll worker, go into the county, get the training and be a poll worker. We're doing something new here too in Jefferson County. For the last several years, we've had our high school students get the day off to go get the training and sit in the polls and help.
Oh, that's awesome.
They're sitting around with a bunch of 70, 80-year-old ladies that are sitting there and talking. And in some places, there's no cell phones. There's no cell service. So they're connecting. They're outside of the electronic leash and they're connecting with people. And it's creating some really neat relationships. And, without the people that are working the polls, the wheels come off the bus. Nobody gets elected. So we need poll workers everywhere in the country. It's not unique to rural Pennsylvania. It's going on around the country.
Yeah.
So,
Senator, man, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. You are a God-fearing patriot, and we're honored to have you on this channel. Thank you so much for all that you're doing.
You're the first politician to tell people to run for something, which is typically they want all the power, but you're different. So
not me. A member of leadership told me to sit down and shut up one day in caucus, and I said, "Listen, I got 64,000 bosses. Not one of them's in this room."
Bang!
Hey, that's great, man. That's great.
The people are the ones who own this country, like I said, and I'm responsible to them.
No.
Yeah.
And everybody that gets elected is. And
you got a fan over here. Please come to Colorado and run, do something.
Dude, Colorado's quietly a cesspool.
Horrible,
there, man.
Yeah, leftism.
Yeah.
We need repentance.
Like California.
Yeah.
We need repentance. We're basically Nineveh over here. Okay? We need a Jonah.
Senator, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you hang out for a second? I'd like to say goodbye to you off the air. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Bahizzy, I don't know why you're here because you should be over at his page subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to my page, please hit the subscribe button because we're getting taken down, man. I mentioned in my in the comments earlier that Julie Green Ministries just got taken down earlier today. Neil Johnson was yesterday. Obviously, Nick Moseder and CanCon have been out for a while. Like, we have to push this reach of what we have. And this is the real news. Bahizzy's bringing you the real news. Having Senator Cris Dush on, we're going to the source. There's no middle ground. I'm not getting paid for this. This is a grassroots movement, as it's going to be in Pennsylvania, like the senator said, with you guys who own the Constitution, who own your area, and you can exact change. So, Senator, I want to thank you once again for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Marcus. Bahizzi, thank you for joining in. And,
thank you. You're a senator fighting in Pennsylvania. So no, Marcus said, "Oh, why did it take Pennsylvania this long?" Well, why did it take Georgia this long? I mean, me and Nick Mosita were joking, saying, "Hey, Bahizzi, there's something going on in Georgia. There's something going on in Michigan, but not Pennsylvania." That was like the hotbed of fun. They had a lot of fun there.
Fun.
And we were joking.
You know what? We deserve the poking. I will tell you that. And it's
no, but you're the first state other than Arizona to come out, which is very weird because we were just joking about how nothing was happening in Pennsylvania, and now you're coming on to say we are going to fight in Pennsylvania. So that's really commendable. I mean, I don't thank politicians ever. I don't ever thank politicians because
I'm not a politician.
This time, great.
I'm a public servant.
You.
I've got some guys. I told them I've got some big corn-fed guys out here. I tell them if I start acting like a politician, grab a 2 before and come get me.
That's the future of this country, Senator. Thank you for being the catalyst for where this country is going. All right, I want to keep this to an hour and 1 minute. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys off the air.
Bless.
Thank you guys for joining us.